We want privacy!
Thanks for having us on the show.
It's so awesome to be here. It's great.
So let me start with you, Sam. You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it.
The fact that they felt strongly enough to release a statement shows that the South Park episode has got under their skin, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, they recognised themselves from it. They could have, although it was quite obvious, they didn't have to recognise themselves. They could have just said that's nonsense and not gone further.
But it's in America. This is the place they went to escape. This is the place where they thought they would be beloved, and now the Americans are turning on them. I've got mixed feelings. I know I'm going to sound like a total killjoy, but I've read Spare. I've read it cover to cover.
The last time South Park came for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the internet split in half. One side howled with laughter at the animated chaos. The other called it bullying wrapped in satire. But this time, it's different. It's personal. Behind closed doors in Montecito, a full-blown media meltdown is reportedly unfolding. Why? Because the world's most irreverent cartoon is back, and their next target is a viral video Meghan herself once thought would define her legacy, not destroy it. Insiders say South Park's creators aren't just teasing Harry and Meghan again, they're planning a brutal takedown of one of the couple's most empowering moments. And it's not just a jab at royalty, it's a full-scale roast of their entire public image. But here's the twist. The parody hasn't even aired yet, and the fallout is already hitting headlines. Legal teams are scrambling, Hollywood allies are going silent, and Meghan's carefully curated brand of authenticity, it may never recover. So what exactly triggered this new wave of panic? Why are Harry's advisors calling this the most dangerous moment since the Oprah interview? And how did a silly pregnancy video turn into a cultural crisis, threatening to define the Sussex legacy forever? Let's start with the video that started it all, and why South Park's next episode might be their most savage yet. At first, it was just a clip, one of thousands Meghan's team has pushed out into the algorithm. A moment meant to be empowering, soft, and joyful. A celebration of motherhood, carefully staged in warm lighting, set to an acoustic track, and posted with hashtags like body positivity and modern motherhood. In the footage, Meghan dances gently, visibly pregnant, while Prince Harry, slightly awkward but supportive, hovers nearby with a ring light, adjusting angles, nodding with exaggerated encouragement. The message: this is a couple in love, embracing parenthood, capturing a raw moment of joy for the world to see. But the internet has a long memory, and South Park's creators have sharper eyes than most. Fast forward to today, that clip is now the centerpiece of a leaked storyboard circulating inside animation circles. Allegedly titled Respect Our Pregnancy, the upcoming South Park episode is said to open on a spoofed Netflix set. Cartoon Meghan is seen rehearsing dance moves between takes, while animated Harry nervously fidgets with lighting rigs and empowerment scripts. According to someone who's seen the early draft, the cartoon doesn't just mock the video, it dismantles it. Scene by scene, beat by beat, it mirrors the leaked behind-the-scenes footage so closely that insiders are calling it a sledgehammer disguised as a mirror.
To deny reports they are set to sue the makers of the South Park satirical cartoon for this already famous episode. Watch.
And for Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, this isn't just satire, it's exposure. Because that pregnancy video wasn't supposed to be comedy fodder. It was supposed to be a symbol, a modern take on royalty, a brand extension built around motherhood, empowerment, and digital intimacy. But to South Park, it's all content, all fair game, and this time, they're not holding back. Insiders close to the show say creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone are salivating over the opportunity. Not because they dislike Meghan, not because they're obsessed with royalty, but because the video, in their words, is a goldmine of curated performance masquerading as authenticity. That's a direct quote from someone in the writing room. According to that source, the show will relentlessly hammer the idea that nothing Meghan and Harry post is spontaneous, that every smile, every anecdote, every ring light lit moment is part of a bigger machine. A machine built not for privacy, but for publicity. And here's the kicker. The parody hasn't even aired, but already damage control has kicked into overdrive. Meghan's team is trying to get ahead of the narrative. PR meetings are being held, legal teams are being briefed. But the problem is, none of them can stop what's coming. Because in the United States, satire is protected, legally untouchable. And once South Park decides to turn a video into a punchline, there's very little anyone, royal or not, can do about it. Even Meghan's inner circle reportedly knows this. One aide, speaking under strict anonymity, confessed that everyone's bracing for impact. We just don't know how bad the hit's going to be. So, what happens when a viral empowerment moment becomes a viral punchline? That's what Section 2 uncovers. The behind-the-scenes panic, media briefings, and the growing realization inside Montecito that this time they may not be able to spin their way out of the storm. The moment whispers of the South Park episode hit the media grapevine, the energy inside the Sussex estate reportedly shifted overnight. Gone were the usual yoga mornings and casual Zoom check-ins. In their place, a full-blown PR triage operation unfolding at all hours of the day and night.
Oh, totally, like, you should write a book because your family, like, stupid, and then so are, like, journalists. So you hate journalists. That's right. And now you wrote a book that reports on the lives of the royal family. Right.
According to staffers, Meghan's team launched what's being described as a containment sprint. The goal? Prepare for every possible angle of attack, not just in the press, but in memes, social media commentary, and influencer reaction videos. The first emergency call reportedly came in just after midnight. A blurry screenshot from what appeared to be a South Park storyboard showing a red-haired prince holding a lighting rig while a cartoon version of Meghan twerked with a visible baby bump across a fake hospital set. Harry's reaction? One word. This can't be real. But it was. What followed was a frenzy of early morning calls. Not to the palace, but to Los Angeles and London-based attorneys, publicists, and image consultants. Aides were pulled out of bed. Coffee was brewed in industrial quantities. By 3 a.m., a makeshift war room was running inside the Montecito compound, complete with video call briefings, shared Slack channels, and a live social monitoring dashboard. And here's the kicker. There was nothing they could actually do to stop the broadcast, because legally, South Park was covered. Ironclad, in fact. Every advisor knew that parody in the U.S. isn't just tolerated. It's protected by law, reinforced by decades of precedent. Still, Meghan reportedly pushed her team to explore every angle. Defamation, emotional distress, even prenatal mockery. But each legal option fell apart under scrutiny. One internal memo, later leaked anonymously, said it best, recommend reputational mitigation, not prohibition. Translation, you can't stop the show, you can only try to survive it. Meanwhile, staffers scrambled to prepare talking points. The mood inside was described as tense, surreal, a mix of dread and déjà vu. Flashbacks to the couple's last brush with South Park's writers, the infamous worldwide privacy tour, were unavoidable. But this time, insiders said, it felt worse, more targeted, less about the institution of royalty, and more about them. One junior publicist reportedly floated a press release condemning misogynistic humor. Another countered with a warning, framing this as anti-woman could backfire. The internet loves calling out performative feminism. Every path forward felt like a trap. Say nothing, and you look weak. Say too much, and you look like you can't take a joke. And in a digital era where memes spread faster than apologies, one misstep could cement a public perception that no amount of Instagram lives or podcast appearances could undo. As one insider put it bluntly, this isn't just a cartoon episode, it's a cultural verdict on their brand.
Now, we should say it's reportedly Harry and Meghan. It has a very similar likeness. They're the royals of Canada. What do you think? Is it?
But if Meghan was publicly quiet, behind the scenes, she wasn't. Sources say she led multiple closed-door meetings with crisis consultants from LA and the UK, demanding clarity on legal options and public response strategy. Still, it was clear, for all the panic in Montecito, one thing was missing: a plan. And when the palace refused to intervene, the Sussexes realized they were more alone than ever. If Harry had held out any hope that Buckingham Palace would step in, that hope was crushed within 48 hours. According to London-based sources, the royal household's response to South Park's upcoming parody was chilling in its indifference. No comment, no concern, no royal hand extended across the Atlantic. Just a polite shrug delivered through back channels that the Sussexes would need to handle this on their own. One palace aide reportedly forwarded news of the parody to the private secretary's inbox with a dry one-liner, "Brace for headlines." That was it. Insiders say King Charles has made it clear that the institution won't spend political or emotional capital shielding a couple who walked away from their royal duties, especially not from a cartoon they invited with years of headline chasing. In royal circles, there's a word for this type of distancing: strategic silence. But behind closed doors in Montecito, that silence landed like a betrayal. Harry, still cautiously trying to rebuild ties with his father, reportedly felt the absence deeply, especially because palace officials had quietly agreed to no public engagement on satire, even if the portrayal was humiliating. And the silence wasn't just external. Sources say phone calls to certain royal cousins, once warm, have now gone unanswered. Even private allies inside the firm have reportedly grown colder, fearing guilt by association. Every new meme or TikTok parody only widened the emotional moat between Harry and the rest of his family. Adding to the sting, royal courtiers were said to be privately amused. According to one insider, staffers inside Clarence House joked that if Harry could monetize his trauma, he should be prepared to have it parodied too. That's not just dismissive, that's pointed.
We are here because privacy is a basic human right. How many more princes and his wives have to live in this nightmare?
Meanwhile, Harry reportedly took to pacing the garden in Montecito, earbuds in, playing meditative playlists while rehearsing lines for a possible interview. One aide described it as prepping for war, but not knowing what battlefield you're even on. He was torn. Speak out and risk inflaming the parody. Stay silent and risk seeming complicit in his own ridicule. This is where the Sussex strategy began to splinter. Meghan, still fiercely image-conscious, wanted a tight narrative, one that framed the parody as misogynistic and out of touch. Harry, on the other hand, reportedly floated a more human approach: laugh it off, pivot to charity, let the storm pass. Neither plan could take shape until one more factor came into play: the internet's response. And that's what we'll unpack in Section 4, because what started as a leak turned into a meme war. And within hours, Harry's nightmare wasn't just airing on Comedy Central, it was playing on every screen, hashtag, and algorithm in the world. It didn't take long for the internet to catch wind of the leak. One blurry screenshot, one whispered plotline. That's all it took to ignite a digital wildfire. Within hours, the hashtag Number Prince parody surged into the trending charts on X, TikTok, and Instagram. Meme pages didn't wait for the episode to air. They created their own leaked clips using AI tools and animation spoofs, overlaying text like South Park's next victims, with cartoon-style stills of Harry fumbling with a ring light while Meghan's animated bump jiggled to the beat of royalty-free music. And just as fast, the opposition formed. Hashtag Number Leave Harry Alone began trending in response, led by Sussex loyalists who argued that mocking an expectant father, especially one who'd spoken openly about mental health struggles, crossed a line. They accused South Park of cruelty masked as comedy and called out fans of the show for piling on at a vulnerable time. But this wasn't a calm debate. It was a hashtag war, the kind where no one really wins, except the algorithm. TikTok creators flooded the app with stitch content, pretending to be Meghan's PR assistants or Harry's frantic aides. Duets played out faux behind-the-scenes scenarios where a fictional Meghan storms into a crisis meeting yelling, "Who leaked the storyboard?" One viral clip racked up over 3 million views in 48 hours. It showed a Harry lookalike bumping into lighting rigs while Meghan's twerk video played in the background with exaggerated sound effects and a flashing subtitle that read, "Scripted Moment." Even influencer pages that once supported the Sussexes began distancing themselves. Some disabled their comments, others deleted past collaborations or archived supportive posts, hoping to ride out the backlash without losing engagement.
Trauma, and I just worry, and I'm not sorry to pull down the mood and everything.
I want your opinion.
But do you remember when those radio hosts and
Behind the scenes, Meghan's PR team reportedly panicked. Screenshots leaked from her internal Slack channels showed a 14% drop in positive sentiment around her empowerment narrative in just 72 hours. Comments were turning fast, and once mockery turns into momentum online, the damage becomes exponential. Because social media doesn't wait for the facts, it feeds off perception. And right now, the perception was clear. Harry and Meghan weren't in control of the story anymore. What started as one parody sketch was quickly mutating into a pop culture moment, one that could reshape the couple's entire brand. But the storm wasn't just online. Behind the gates of Montecito, Harry was making desperate calls and discovering just how few people in Hollywood were still willing to pick up. If Harry once believed that his connections in Hollywood would come to the rescue, he was about to learn a brutal lesson in showbiz politics. As the parody leak picked up steam, sources say Harry began quietly reaching out to old contacts. Executives he'd met at Netflix mixers, producers who'd shown interest in Invictus documentaries, even a few A-list neighbors who'd waved politely across Montecito hedges. The message was never overt, no direct requests, just carefully worded inquiries. Have you heard anything about the South Park thing? Do you know how bad it's going to be? But the tone, insiders claim, carried a silent plea. Please, if you have any pull, use it. And what he got back was silence. Or worse, honesty. One streaming executive reportedly warned Harry that pushing back behind the scenes would only make it worse. South Park, he said, thrives on resistance. Any attempt to muzzle the parody would just add fuel to the fire and possibly become part of the next episode. Another studio contact reminded Harry that Trey Parker and Matt Stone are comedy untouchables in Hollywood. Uncancelable. Unbothered. If they receive a legal threat, they'll read it on air, laugh at it, and turn it into next week's joke. That's their power. And everyone in the industry knows it.
You two can keep it down.
Hey! You ever heard of a thing called privacy?
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. You two just shut up and go away.
Even a neighbor, a well-liked actress who had once publicly praised Meghan, is said to have pulled back. She reportedly told a friend, "I love Meg, but I'm not stepping into that crossfire." The internet's in roast mode. Behind the scenes, a small PR campaign was reportedly launched to explore influence-based solutions. One idea? Offer Harry a cameo on a Paramount-owned morning show in exchange for toning down the episode's harshest lines. But marketing execs, while polite, never circled back. Another pitch floated leveraging Harry's upcoming mental health summit, appealed to Paramount's philanthropic arm. Maybe a mutually beneficial cause campaign? It was quickly shot down. The network's legal team reportedly made it clear. Editorial independence trumps goodwill partnerships. Even Meghan's side had little success. Her team allegedly approached a circle of lifestyle influencers, offering early access to as-ever products in exchange for body positivity posts that might counter the parody's damage. A few asked for 5-figure rates, most just ghosted. And just like that, the walls began to close in. Because in Hollywood, sympathy doesn't equal protection, especially not when you're up against a ratings juggernaut. One veteran agent summed it up in a text that's now circulating through industry circles. This town respects hustle. And right now, South Park's hustle outranks theirs. As the pressure mounted, Harry and Meghan did what any high-profile public figures would do. They turned to their lawyers. But even in the world of celebrity crisis management, some problems can't be solved with a cease and desist. Multiple legal teams on both sides of the Atlantic were brought in for emergency consultations. Meghan's attorneys reportedly combed through U.S. defamation law, intellectual property statutes, and even obscure British royal protocols, desperate to find anything that could stop South Park's episode before it aired. The first tactic? Defamation. But that idea collapsed almost instantly. Why? Because the source material, Meghan's pregnancy dance video, but wasn't private. It was still live on her official social feed, and you can't claim defamation over a parody of something you posted yourself. As one sardonic memo line reportedly put it, you can't lie about something that's already public. Next, they tried privacy violations, but the episode was protected under the First Amendment. Parody of public figures, especially over content they themselves broadcast, is a legal fortress. California juries, one legal brief reminded them, trust satire more than titles.
Nonsense, totally baseless, boring reports. Well, Harry's bug.
Then came the royal angle. Could Harry argue that portraying a duke, a member of the British monarchy, in a false and humiliating light, violated centuries-old protocol? The answer came back blistering. Once Harry stepped away from his royal duties, he left behind any legal shield the crown might have offered. And even senior royals rarely sue. The Windsor file on satire is mostly resignation letters, not court orders. The team even explored child protection laws, wondering if referencing an unborn baby in a comedic context might be considered harassment. But even that argument fell apart. One legal opinion put it bluntly. The courts do not protect fictional versions of public pregnancies, no matter how tasteless. According to a Montecito source who skimmed the final legal memo, it read like a graveyard of dashed hopes. Paragraph after paragraph, every possible argument was crossed out. The final note: recommend reputational mitigation, not prohibition. In plain English, you can't stop the show. You can only try to survive it. That phrase, reputational mitigation, became the new internal mantra. Staff began jokingly signing off emails with it. See you at 8 a.m., bring coffee, panic, and reputational mitigation. But jokes aside, reality was setting in. There was no legal path left, no secret protocol, no royal clause. The episode was locked, the animators were done, and the internet was counting down the days. All that was left to do was brace for the fallout. That's when Meghan's PR machine kicked into overdrive. And almost instantly, it backfired. With legal options dead, Meghan pivoted hard into her comfort zone: image management. According to insiders, her PR team launched a multi-pronged strategy within 48 hours. The plan was clear: reframe the narrative, reclaim the empowerment angle, and paint South Park's parody as outdated, misogynistic, and mean-spirited. Step 1: influencer outreach. Emails were quietly sent to lifestyle influencers who had previously partnered with Meghan's brand. The ask: post soft, uplifting messages about pregnancy, body image, and female empowerment, preferably within the week.
And then she took her own life. We know that Meghan Markle is a vulnerable character. She's talked about wanting to take her own life. This is mainstream American television, and having read the book, even though I think they're hypocrites.
But the response was tepid at best. Some influencers declined outright. Others asked for fees Meghan's team wasn't prepared to pay. One wellness coach, who had once been gifted as ever merch, politely refused, and later told a friend, "I love Meg, but the internet's in roast mode. I'm not stepping into that." Step 2: narrative control. The PR team drafted a statement condemning the upcoming parody as sexist, tone-deaf, and insensitive to the experience of motherhood. But when it was tested with advisors, cracks started to show. Critics immediately flagged the risk of weaponizing feminism, using the language of empowerment to deflect legitimate satire. If you frame this as an attack on all women, one strategist warned, you invite blowback, especially if people see it as a shield against accountability. And that's exactly what happened. The statement was leaked before it could be finalized, and backlash erupted. Twitter lit up with mockery. Posts calling Meghan queen of curated feminism began trending. Screenshots of her twerk video were spliced with quotes from empowerment speeches and rebranded as commercialized vulnerability. Even feminist commentators began distancing themselves. One tweeted, "This isn't a commentary on women. It's a commentary on branding motherhood like a Netflix series." The backlash only deepened when sentiment tracking tools picked up a sudden shift. According to a Slack leak from Meghan's PR team, positive chatter about her empowerment messaging dropped by 14% within 72 hours. What had once been seen as strength was now being interpreted as spin. And perhaps worst of all, it didn't stop the memes. The jokes kept spreading, faster than any PR push could contain them. Because that's the thing about satire. It multiplies, and every attempt to smother it just makes it louder. So by the end of the week, Meghan's image team was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They hadn't controlled the narrative, they'd amplified it. And for a brand built on control, that's the worst-case scenario. Next, we'll explore how this growing ridicule began shaking even their most loyal corporate partners, and why Harry's sponsors are now asking one question: is this still aspirational, or are we backing a punchline? While Harry and Meghan scrambled behind the scenes, the most unsettling shift came quietly. From the corporate world, it started with subtle questions, a few cautious emails, then a sudden change in tone. According to insiders, several sponsors and partners tied to the Invictus Games began asking for reassurance, not about logistics or costs, but tone, specifically whether Harry's public image was veering too far into the territory of self-parody. One apparel brand, known for dressing Invictus athletes, reportedly requested that their logo no longer appear on singlets or uniforms, only on event signage and backdrops, just to be safe.
Prince Harry rang up the producer and actually said to him, "No, you've got..."
The message was clear. We'll support the cause, but not the controversy. It wasn't just sportswear. A major European tech donor who had initially pledged to underwrite part of Harry's upcoming mental health summit suddenly paused negotiations. The reason? quiet concerns that screenshots of a cartoon Harry fumbling with a ring light might start trending during their campaign's launch window. Even Meghan's lifestyle brand, As Ever, reportedly saw new resistance from retail buyers. One department store chain was said to be reconsidering its partnership due to fears the brand was becoming too polarizing, not because of politics, but because of public fatigue. And that fatigue is key. Because for years, Harry and Meghan positioned themselves as victims of a merciless media machine. But this time, the media machine didn't chase them. It mocked them. And no matter how carefully their team worded press releases or choreographed counter-content, it wasn't working. Sponsors don't want to trend for the wrong reasons. And with South Park's episode looming and clips already leaking, no one wanted to gamble on whether this would blow over. As one marketing executive bluntly told their team, "We've worked too hard building trust. We can't risk becoming a meme by association." And that's the core of the crisis. Because satire doesn't just bruise egos, it bleeds influence. It chips away at the one thing Meghan and Harry spent years building, their brand equity. And when a brand becomes a punchline, the whole machine starts to wobble, from podcast deals to production pitches to public appearances. Every new project now risks being overshadowed by a single GIF, a single looped clip of cartoon Harry tripping over cables while Meghan poses in front of a fake hospital set. That's when the Sussex team started sketching out two redemption strategies, each one risky, each one uncertain. Because at this point, it wasn't about winning anymore. It was about containing the damage.
Wrong. And the producer said to him, "Excuse me, sir." He said, "But it's just a cartoon." And that made
it's not even about them, is it?
Well,
it's about a sort.
According to leaked slides from a late-night Montecito meeting, two distinct options were on the table, dubbed internally as Path A and Path B. Path A was simple and surprisingly humble. Let the episode air, then release a brief, lightly self-deprecating video. Maybe Harry and Meghan walking along a California beach, laughing about parenthood, making a wry joke about how no one is safe from cartoons. Then pivot immediately to promoting a charity cause, something meaningful, grounded, and human. The pitch? Relatability. If they show they can laugh at themselves, critics ease up, the internet shifts its attention, and sponsors breathe a sigh of relief. The narrative moves from fragile royals to resilient public figures. But there's a risk. South Park is merciless. If Harry even smiles the wrong way, that moment could be clipped and inserted into a future episode. One consultant warned, they'll loop his laugh until the end of time. Path B was bolder and more dangerous. Wait 48 hours after the episode airs. Then, launch a campaign about online harassment and parental shaming. Reframe the parody as a cultural flashpoint. Invite mental health experts to weigh in. Donate ad revenue from Meghan's pregnancy video to maternal care charities. The goal? Turn mockery into mission. Reposition the scandal as a teachable moment. Flip the narrative on its head. But this, too, had a cost. Critics might accuse Meghan of exploiting the moment for clout. Hashtags like #mocktivism could trend even harder than the parody itself. And if the timing feels even slightly strategic, the internet will smell it from a mile away. Even inside Meghan's team, opinions were split. Some wanted to go bold. Others urged caution. Harry, reportedly torn, said little. The truth is, there might not be a perfect response. Because in the world of digital culture, some moments calcify.
Princess
Yes,
living in
that's right.
Canada. It could be anyone, Angela.
It could be anyone, and it just shows how awful it is if you're hypocritical, and how awful it is if you just think of yourself.
A single cartoon line, a single exaggerated scene. Once it lands, it sticks. And if South Park's new episode lands hard, no counter-campaign or charity tie-in may be enough to scrub it away. Behind palace walls, aides are already preparing. They've drafted talking points, set up press filters, agreed on a standing response. No comment on satirical programming. In the world of royalty, silence is survival. But in the world of memes, silence is confirmation. That's Harry's dilemma. Every option is a gamble. Speak out and look fragile. Laugh along and risk becoming a forever punchline. Stay quiet and watch the narrative crystallize into something irreversible. Meanwhile, South Park's animators are done. The reel is locked. Paramount's promo clock is ticking. Meme engines are primed to explode the moment the credits roll. And as sponsors update spreadsheets and the palace retools its press calendar, Harry is left facing a single haunting question. What version of himself will the world decide is canon? Will he remain the sincere, outspoken royal who challenged the institution? Or will he forever be remembered as the cartoon prince who couldn't take a joke? That decision won't be made in Montecito or Westminster. It'll be made by viewers. One meme, one share, one punchline at a time. So what do you think? Should Harry meet the mockery head-on with humility, or would any reaction just pour jet fuel on the fire? And beyond the Sussex saga, where do you draw the line between fair parody and punching down, especially when parenthood enters the frame? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like if you're here for every chaotic twist, and subscribe, because the next deep dive, you won't believe who South Park might be targeting next.